recording purposes. So it is 4:06. I am calling this meeting to order. So let's start with just again acknowledging that we're meeting in person and we have some members also meeting online. And I think we're ready for the land acknowledgement. Or not the land acknowledgements, for the roll call. Thank you.
Commissioner Reed.
Here.
Commissioner Daddle.
Here.
Commissioner Ullman.
Here.
Vice Chair Kim is not here. Commissioner Serena.
Here.
Commissioner White.
Here.
Chair Mbondo.
Here.
Commissioner Austin is not present. Commissioner Alvarez is running late. Will be here momentarily. Commissioner Bennett.
Here.
Commissioner Britton.
Here.
And then our ex officio members, Sarah Morgan.
Here.
I do not see.
12.
Do not see Carla Fresquez from UC Davis. I do not, and then our supervisors, Supervisor Ferrix is not present and Supervisor Allen.
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you. Let's get started. So we're going to do the land acknowledgement. I will read it for everyone. We should take a moment to acknowledge the land on which we are gathered. For thousands of years, this land has been the home of Patwin people. Today, there are 3 federally recognized Patwin tribes: Kachil-Dihi Band of Winton Indians of the Colusa Indian community, Platesel-Dihi Band of Winton Indians, and Nyocha-Dihi Winton Nation. The Patwin people have remained committed to the stewardship of this land over many centuries. It has been cherished and protected as elders have instructed the young through generations. We are honored and grateful to be here today on their traditional lands. So our second agenda item is the approval of the agenda. Do we have any questions or remarks?
I do have a request
Yes.
to edit or move one item on the agenda.
Indeed.
If we could move item 8, receive update on staff recommendations regarding the reformation of the Yale County Climate Action Commission above staff announcement. So that can be our first discussion item.
Okay, so anyone in favor of moving agenda item number 8 before staff announcements? Let's do a show of hand. Please raise your hand. Yes, your majority of hands. Yeah, it's unanimous. Okay, so that's a change to the agenda. Anything else? No?
I move adoption of the agenda.
Commissioner Reed, do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Serena, thank you. Questions, discussions on that? None? Okay, we're ready to vote on it.
Commissioner Reed.
Aye.
Commissioner Daddle.
Aye.
Commissioner Ullman.
Aye.
Commissioner Serena. Commissioner White.
Aye.
Chair Mbondo.
Aye.
Commissioner Alvarez, not yet present. Commissioner Bennett.
Aye.
Commissioner Britton.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. So we are now moving on to agenda item number 3. We're ready for public comments. I'm going to start in the room. Do we have any members of the public who would like to make a comment today? None? Okay, do we have any public comments online? That was very quick. So this closes our time on agenda item number 3. So let's move on to number 4. Please refer to attachment B regarding an approval of the meeting minutes from November 18, 2024. Anyone has any remarks regarding the minutes, the meeting minutes? Yes, thank you, Commissioner Bennett.
So on item number 2 in the minutes, it doesn't show me as voting. That's not a big deal. But anyway, I'm sure I voted yes.
Okay, did the staff catch that?
Yeah, we will review and correct.
Thank you. Anyone else? Online? No? Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of November 18th with the stated amendment? Commissioner Ullman, do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Serena, thank you. Questions, discussions, additional remarks? None. We're ready to vote on that.
Commissioner Reed, Commissioner Daddle,
Aye.
Commissioner Ullman,
Aye.
Commissioner Kim, we are approving the minutes from November 18th, 2024. I can come back to you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Serena? Aye. Commissioner White?
Aye.
Chair Bondo?
Aye.
Commissioner Bennett?
Aye.
Commissioner Britton?
Abstain.
Commissioner Kim?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you all. So now we're going to exceptionally skip ahead and we're going to discuss and receive an update regarding staff recommendations for reformulation of Climate Action Commission. So this is agenda item 8. Please refer to attachment F, G, H. Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you. Just getting myself all situated here. All right. Hi, everyone. It's been a moment. We had a 2-month break, the longest ever. And so we are back and ready to roll and thinking forward to the future of our commission. So obviously we have had many conversations over the past several months about what the commission looks like moving forward. And so just a refresher on why we're having this discussion. When you look at the commission charter, so that is attachment G in your packet, there is really the focus and what the commission was set up to do was to develop the climate action and adaptation plan. The language in there, the roles and purpose outlined were all to get us to development of a plan. There is one sentence that references implementation, and that's it. So we're clearly at a point where we need to make some changes to adjust to the task at hand, which is now implementing 183 actions across 10 different sectors and 40 measures. And so we want to take this opportunity to create a commission that really has a clear purpose that's defined to get us to net negative by 2030, hopefully. So for discussion today, and I just want to say up front, this is a preliminary discussion. We'll talk at the end of what our timeline moving forward. We want to have a conversation about two things in particular. One is the composition of the commission, so the members, and then the second is the purpose of the commission. So how do we sort of divide up our commission slots to make sure that all of the different skills and expertise needed to advance implementation are represented here? And then how do we create a charter that really clearly defines what this commission's purpose is when we think about implementation? And so if you, on page 2 of the staff report, you'll see the current commission composition. So you all, we have 5 district representatives, 2 at-large members, 1 technical lead, climate scientists, 2 climate scientists, and 1 environmental justice lead. So overall, the spots were fairly broad. And I think that I want to say up front, you all have been incredible. And we feel so grateful that we've gotten to work with all of you for over 3 years. This is just, we're so grateful. And none of these conversations are in any way a reflection of the work that you've done. And I feel like I want to say that, and I want to make that really clear because you have been exceptional. And if we could keep everyone and move forward exactly as we've been, I mean, that doesn't obviously fit with implementation of a plan, but you've been wonderful. And we are so grateful for all of the work that you've put in to get us to this point. And so for the commission composition moving forward, I'll start there and then I'll talk about the purpose. And then I want to spend the majority of our time on discussion. So there are a few things that we're proposing to maintain. One being the 5 district representatives. That feels really important, as well as 2 at-large members and an environmental justice lead. I think for many reasons, these are spots that make a lot of sense. We want to make sure that we have full representation across the county. An environmental justice lead is crucial when we think about CAP implementation and what that means. And then at-large members gives us a little bit of flexibility to make sure that we have representation from, categories not represented here. Then we have 3 new slots that we're proposing for consideration for discussion today. One being a natural and working land subject matter expert, and tentatively we're proposing a slot for the Yolo Resource Conservation District. When we think about the role that RCD has played throughout the plan development process, they led, and Heather Nichols, the executive director of Yolo RCD, is here today. They led our technical advisory committee and have been such a key partner in all of this. I think having them represented on the commission can be a really great way to really tie the natural and working lands purpose into the central focus of our work. The second is a transportation subject matter expert. So when we think about natural and working lands being the biggest potential emissions reduction opportunity, transportation is our biggest source of emissions countywide. And so that's a big piece of our puzzle. I think that there are a couple of different ways that we could approach that, including potentially having the transportation district sit on the commission. Can't sign them up for that, and we're working on scheduling a meeting to discuss that. But that's another slot for consideration. And then the final new one is somebody representing the business community. When we think about the role of industry and needing to move the mark, being able to more directly engage with chambers of commerce and think about how we're having this conversation truly countywide can be another opportunity to consider. So I want to thank you all as commission members and also members of the public who provided a lot of feedback following up on our past conversations on this topic. I think it was really hard for us to take all of that feedback and narrow it down, but this we felt got at the crux of a lot of what we were discussing. And I will say that we had a couple of comments about shrinking the commission size. There were so many requests for additional slots that really 11 and keeping the current number is where we landed for a number of reasons. So then one of the other things to consider, so we recommend keeping Yochadehi and UC Davis as ex officio members. Sarah Morgan, I know, is on the call today. It's been so incredible to have their participation on an ongoing basis. We are proposing a few additional spots. The first thing here, it's a correction. The first ex officio recommendation was a liaison from the Yolo County Youth Commission. Unfortunately, at this time, the Yolo Youth Commission's on hold due to funding and staffing constraints. So we cannot have a liaison from the Yolo County Youth Commission, but we do have another recommendation to have youth represented as ex officio members, either a Woodland Community College student and or a UC Davis student. We have many students who have come to us and expressed interest, and I think that could be a great opportunity to even have flexible slots that are maybe one-year terms, just to acknowledge that college and university students have varying schedules from year to year. And then we have a recommendation we're talking about youth, thinking about other vulnerable populations, having a liaison from the Yolo County Commission on Aging and Adult Services as well. And then we have Yolo Transportation District. So depending on how that transportation slot is allocated, wanting to make sure that YTD is a part of the conversation in some capacity. So that's our recommendations regarding composition. I want to briefly talk about our commission purpose. So on page 3, you can refer to what the current commission purpose is. I won't read that now, but really it was focused on getting us to a cap. We are now there, so what do we do moving forward? On page 4 of your staff report, we've outlined future commission purpose potential, how we might want to describe this in the charter. So there are 4 key things that we outline as potential roles to call out for this future commission. One is supporting the implementation of the CAP by participating in one or more implementation advisory committees. I think we've really seen how the TACs that we've used throughout CAP development are incredible venues for doing work. We want to have a really strong focus of, because so much of the work is going to be very sector specific, it's going to be difficult to have some of those conversations in the full commission, given the breadth of expertise. And so we really want to utilize tax as a way to get work done and have those be work machines to help us in our work. So we have equity and engagement, natural and working lands, transportation, and a potential grant writing and funding advisory committees that we're proposing. The second is reviewing and approving an annual CAP implementation plan. So as we had many conversations around what does implementation of this CAP look like, when we get to, this is sort of backtracking, we'll come to staff announcements, but we'll share more about this. But staff are working on an annual implementation plan for 2025. On an ongoing basis, we would love the commission to be involved in the review and approval process of that on an ongoing basis. And so having the commission review and approve an annual implementation plan that outlines the specific strategies, measures, and actions that the county and our partners are going to be moving forward in a given year. Number 3 is reviewing and approving an annual funding strategy. So similar to how the commission has advised staff on how to allocate ARP funds, we want to continue that as we think about how we allocate grant resources, general fund requests, private funding applications, et cetera. And then finally, we want to have the commission review and approve an annual engagement strategy that is developed with our Equity and Engagement Advisory Committee. So really it's a bit of a shift in how the commission functions to really move the strategy of CAP implementation forward, and then having these advisory committees that really support the ongoing day-to-day movement of the projects. And so our next steps moving forward today is a discussion about what you all would like to see in terms of composition and purpose. We plan to, pending the outcomes of this discussion, come forward on June 23rd, so our next meeting, to bring this should say to bring a draft charter forward, thank you, to bring a draft charter forward for discussion with this group. So that will actually have some of the specifications of the position slots spelled out, the purpose spelled out in greater detail. And then that will be a discussion. In June, we'll come forward with a final commission for review discussion. And at that time, we recommend dissolving our Plan Development Commission and then going to the board to reestablish a CAP Implementation Commission. I want to say that we want to have current and interested commission members be eligible to be reappointed to this new commission. But I think just functionally, with terms expiring, probably the easiest way to do this is to dissolve and reestablish as a new commission with a new purpose. And then we would bring that charter to the board for first a workshop and discussion at the beginning of July and then approval at the end of July. That would then, there would be a recruitment process, which should not take anywhere near as long as the initial recruitment, given the interest and participation we've had in this commission. And then this fall, we plan to reestablish with the Implementation Commission, and it would maintain the same name. I'm just calling it that for the purposes of clarity. And then we'll start with approving 2026 implementation plan in January of the following year. So with that, I'm going to end my longer than expected overview of this, and I'm excited for the discussion on this item.
Thank you, Kristen. And I want to start by officially welcoming everyone. We're fast at work on this, so thank you. I'm going to reserve my comments for now. I have a couple of questions, but Commissioner Britton, I saw your hand.
Yeah, so I like this. I was one of the voices that you quoted as saying it would be nice to have a smaller one, only because small commissions move faster. And I think this is really important work, and I like the outline you've done. So I think you had a tough job to balance those. So good job. I think this is nicely done. There's just one striking omission here that I think is important for us to consider. I have a perspective on it. I don't think it'll be the only one. I'm really glad that Supervisor Allen is here today to chime in on this. But the thing that we were called off for just after I joined this committee was any involvement in ongoing planning process projects. And it strikes me that this is something that's really important to intermesh with our implementation of our current plan. It seems short-sighted, at least, to think that you could do planning of new projects in the county without considering their carbon impact if we want to get to negative by 2030. I mean, the development is a big source of new carbon footprint that we're trying to avert. So I would like to see this proposal include some explicit consideration of how this group should be involved in county planning efforts. And that can be abstract, it can be concrete, there could be a working group, I think might be a good way to do it, that would review plans and bring important ones to commission consideration, or work with the planning department of the county. It seems maybe a small focused working group on plan consultation would be a good way to get that into our charter.
I can share some thoughts first, and then I'll pass it over to Supervisor Allen. So, I think part of the challenge is we have a planning commission whose job it is to review and approve projects. So one of the things that we've been working on at the staff level is integrating the sustainability division into staff review, the same way that building and environmental health review projects, having a sustainability screen that considers the goals of the CAP in that process. And so across all of the other review commissions, there's additional staff level review that goes into that. And that's one of the things that we're working to integrate is a checklist and a process for integrating the sustainability team and the CAP goals into future planning project review. It's something that's in progress. And so I think that's really what I am hearing is this desire to try to have conversations at the staff level and then continue to work with the planning commission. But the planning commission has that specific focus defined, and there aren't any other commissions currently that do any other additional review on top of the planning commission. That's what the planning commission is there for. And then adding these additional levels of staff review is what we've been trying to incorporate. Supervisor Allen, any other thoughts that you want to add?
Is it working? There we
Yes.
go. I hear you. The difference perhaps with the county and city-based things is that there's a lot of development that happens within the cities, because that's the way that we like to do things in Yolo County, is that we keep it within the city. There are stronger opportunities when there's going to be an annexation to the city, that then the county is more involved in the initial planning and having comments. There are our unincorporated areas that have some development, but not so much. And it's not one of the top areas that were found in the CAP where we could make the greatest impact. It really is the natural environments and the transportation. But planning is the right time to be talking about prevention. So I love that idea. And I think if we can do the work, and it could be possible that in making the criteria that the planning commission would use, that would be great to come to this group to talk about what would be how would planning commission be looking at the environmental impact and the CAP goals. That would be a great time, but I don't think that we're set up for the structure to have an additional oversight or checking in on that, or adding a liaison position here. I mean, if we have somebody who has planning experience, that would be great, because that would be an opportunity to hear that perspective. We could consider that when we're looking at the positions for supervisor appointments.
And I love the idea of bringing all of the review checklists to this group for a discussion. That feels really appropriate and a good opportunity to make sure that any checks that are being put in place are approved by the commission. And so, some jurisdictions that have climate action and adaptation plans have CAP consistency checklists that are used as part of planning. So it's a form that gets filled out during the planning review process to say, does this project comply with these different elements of the CAP? And so that's something that we're working on. And I think that before anything is finalized, bringing it to this group before this group dissolves in its current form feels important.
So that's happening fairly soon then. It sounds like you're working on it.
At the moment, yeah.
That seems like a good compromise, and then we could pick this up as maybe a modification later. But it seems it's not being omitted, and that's good.
Yeah.
I worried a little bit in your initial answer about the possibly overworking the staff. You guys have your hands full already. And it seems like this is, as a consulting body, could do a lot to sort of take some of the load off of your hardworking shoulders.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think that we've been trying to figure out how does this fit into the existing, also from planning's perspective, how do we fit this into the staff review processes that exist across other divisions and departments that have sort of an oversight capacity? And so trying to align it with existing processes as much as possible, but coming forward with a checklist and having you review and approve that feels important.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Supervisor Allen. Just some thoughts on that. I definitely want to be mindful of staff time. Of course, when we are brainstorming, making recommendations, I was wondering, one thing that the commission has done in the past has been to, when the need arises, then share, that need with the staff, and then the staff will act as a liaison for us with the appropriate department or people, because the job, we need information in order to make informed decisions. So I would suggest that we keep that in mind also when it comes to the planning division, that when we work on implementation, there might be cases where, yes, there's going to be questions regarding the planning. We're trying to think ahead. So I will encourage us to be clear on and work with the staff on how can we then work with either, people working on planning without also interfering with the work of the Planning Commission. Another thing, again, this is just me thinking out loud, so thanks for humoring me. I was wondering if it seems reasonable. I'm guessing that at the end of every year, groups, whether it's a planning division or commission, have kind of an agenda for the year. They have the long range calendar and so on. So will it be possible, or is it a good idea, maybe in the beginning of a new year cycle for the commission, for the staff to let us know, like you already interact with the planning division via the green team, and anytime it's needed, if you ever see and are able to flag for us ahead of time, hey, you'll want to keep your eyes on this item because there's going to be an intersection and so on. I think when the commission starts a new cycle or year, it might be useful for us to know. Just again, a thought.
I agree. I think that would be great. One of the other things that we've discussed is doing a presentation for the Planning Commission. There are several new commission members who've been appointed in the past few months, and doing an update on the CAP and what the implementation process looks like to the Planning Commission. So that's front of mind for all of them as well.
We did talk about that. Thank you. And Commissioner Reid, I think, will need to also address us.
I just wanted to say this is all part of the creating the climate culture throughout the organization process. And Kristen, you've already started that with your formation of the green team. I think your approach to the checklist is a good one for several reasons, not the least of which there is a provision in the resolution that requires the Board of Supervisors to review the climate impacts up above and beyond any environmental quality statement that's been prepared in association with the project. They would be reviewing the alignment with the CAP. And I think the checklist will enable that to happen. The other benefit of it is having something prepared in advance enables those who are planning development projects to understand what it is that we're going to be looking for, and what the Planning Commission is going to be looking for, and what the Board of Supervisors is going to be looking for when it comes time for approval. So essentially putting everybody on notice that these things are important as you design your project, I think will actually simplify the process rather than trying to rely on an EIS process that calls for examination of alternatives and mitigation measures, and which ones are you going to impose and how much are they going to cost, et cetera. That there's a framework and a vision for what these projects ought to do and what they ought to contribute to the overall goals of the county when they're brought forward. So I totally agree with your approach, and look forward to hearing more about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Kim?
Yes, to push this checklist idea a little bit more, in addition to checklists for the planning commission, for both the county and maybe even cities, the idea was, what if we have checklists for, because I know when it comes to the natural working lands, that's really county taking leadership, really not much coordination needing to be done with any other cities or jurisdictions. But I feel like transportation, that's very like city forward driven, planning and strategies and vision. So either maybe we don't need like a city liaison or transportation city liaison from every city. That may be a little bit too much, but even for folks, for all of the cities, their transportation department or someone in their team that has at minimum a checklist. Here's what the transportation checklist from the YOLO cap looks like. How many of these checklist items can you check off for us for any new transportation project that you have planned in the future? And or actually even maybe having a liaison from each of the cities on here's what our transportation issues are, here's our plans, here's our goals, and how can we coordinate? Because I think one of the ideas was we have limited resources. So anyway, we can have a force multiplier effect with any city funds to improve transportation in a climate friendly way can make sense. But then to push the idea, so I like the checklist for the planning commission, checklist for city transportation folks, and then ultimately some kind of checklist again for natural working land participants, either if it's farmers, growers, ranchers, what have you, that can be somewhat be standardized.
So a few thoughts in response. So one of the other staff announcements is around the Climate Resiliency Collaborative that's about to launch. So that is the county, the cities, the tribe, UC Davis, CBOs. That is launching. Our kickoff meeting is this week. And so that is I think part of what we are trying to figure out, doing both of these things, reformulating the commission and starting up a countywide resilience collaborative at the same time, is what are the unique roles that each of these bodies can play. And so, and the other piece specifically to transportation is we're working on the zero emission vehicle action plan right now, which Julia will also be giving an update on. And now I'm realizing I should have done staff announcements first before this item, my bad. So that is currently almost 35 member county city YTD group that's working on that plan together now that that project has officially kicked off. And so I think that we can think about how the county can coordinate these efforts in these various bodies. And I think that this is where the technical advisory committees, if we have a transportation technical advisory committee, maybe not having the city staff sit in on these commission meetings, but if we're thinking about implementing the zero emission vehicle action plan as an action of our transportation TAC, that is a great place for the folks who are supporting the ZEV action plan to participate and engage. So I think that some of these other substructures we can figure out. And I think that developing additional checklists through that process is something we can think about as an outcome of the Resilience Collaborative for sure. So appreciate those comments. I don't have like a definitive answer, but a couple of ideas of how we could apply that.
Thank you, Vice Chair Kim. Anyone wanted to react on what Commissioner Kim said before? No. Commissioner Ullman?
Yeah, I think one thing we need to bear in mind is that the county is the scene of industrial activities that have been permitted under CEQA already, in which applicants are going to come back to the Planning Commission for extensions. And so what applies? Here we are with a whole new climate initiative that's okay, fine, but an activity that's been permitted under CEQA and they've met the requirements and a sustained approval from the Planning Commission. The argument's going to be, hey, we've already checked all the boxes. Now you're introducing new things. What do we do about it? I think that needs to be carefully considered. And I'm not going to go on and expand any more on it, but I think that's one instance where where do we fit within the stack here? And on one hand, the county could wind up seeing its carbon goals displaced a bit or significantly. On the other hand, a legitimate applicant who has met all the requirements, graded the EIR, met the CEQA requirements, is going to say, wait a minute, we're playing by the rules. Now you're changing the rules. So just bear that in mind. And I think that your role will be absolutely critical in establishing this liaison with the planning department, with the planning commission, and to make sure that applicants here that operate in good faith understand what the rules are going in, and that avoids any number of issues.
I also want to, following up quickly on what you said, as a reminder, at some point, the commission will have a representative from transportation, sector. Supervisor Allen.
Just follow up to the last few comments. Thank you for that caution about people coming or organizations coming back for renewal. Sometimes rules change between when they first do it. For instance, there'll be like A, B, whatever, that then when they come back for renewal, they need to be in compliance with that. So we'll have to have that discussion of when and if we can add additional requirements, but that would be the time when they come back for extension or a change, because there are, like, I'm just thinking of like the gravel mining, that like that's often when we have that kind of discussion. So we'll need to talk to planning about how that fits into their process. And for another issue regarding planning is that plans do not come to the Board of Supervisors unless there's an appeal. So it's not like every planning thing that happens makes it up to the Board of Supervisors. But if the applicant does not like the outcome, or if they can't come to a conclusion, then it comes to the Board of Supervisors. So not just FYI, not 100% of things come to the Board of Supervisors. So you can't, you can depend on us. I'm gonna say you can't depend on us. You can always depend on our process to be the intervening, to intervene in a matter. So those were my comments about what's already been talked about. Would this be, while I have the microphone, would this be a good time for me to have comments about positions, or do you want me, I can jump in later?
Before we talk about that, I actually had a question for you and for Kristen. So the resolution, 2014, that paved the way for the creation of our commission was focusing on the creation of the CAP, not its implementation. And it's really clearly stated that the commission exists for that purpose. So I hear, of course, and support ending the current format just for sake of clarity and starting fresh and, laying clear foundations. But I was wondering, from the Board of Supervisors perspective, what does that mean? Like, is there a document that is needed or a new resolution that's going to address the creation of that new commission? And does that happen, I'm guessing, after this commission has voted on the new charter and so on? Yes.
Yeah, this commission would vote to recommend a new charter to the Board of Supervisors for approval. We would do a board workshop to discuss the new charter. The board has the opportunity to recommend edits, changes to the charter, and then it would likely, depending on the scale of the edits, come back to the board on the following meeting's consent agenda for approval.
So, okay, thank you. I'll come back to that when the time is right for it. Thanks. Supervisor Allen, you have the floor.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I had a chance to meet with Kristen earlier today, and then also talked with my staff about the suggestions for the different categories, and know that this is here for discussion right now. So we're just starting it out. So we had some initial ideas. We too were like, well, you could make it a little smaller, only because it's hard to wrangle people and you worry about quorum issues. This group generally has not had that problem because you are a very engaged group. So congratulations on that. But we were thinking of sometimes you're able to either have, like, people have, our positions have dual purpose so that you can cover two things instead of expanding to a new category. For instance, for the at-large positions, we could say that we are recruiting people that either have business experience or maybe are from an unincorporated area, or to cover, or maybe is a transportation subject expert. And then that helps Board of Supervisors when either for at-large or for our own positions to make sure that sort of the matrix is addressed, just as a suggestion, so that we don't have to try to find as many people and then depend on those people to participate and continue, just as a suggestion. We did feel like that, we probably don't necessarily need to have two transportation subject matter people, both a appointed person and the official liaison. We would hope that we would be able to work with YOLO YOLO Transportation District. I wrote down, flip the letters, to have them identify somebody to be the voting member rather than having two. I mean, you could always have, it's always good to have them come to meetings and be a part of things. You would likely in your tax have additional people or different groups be a part of that. But as far as either recommended or required participants, that would help to decrease the burden a little bit. There was one more. Oh, so then to the, so maybe I'll wait, and then I want to say a couple things about the tax when we get to that. Do people have any either comments or response to those suggestions?
Okay, so Commissioner Reed, and I have a question for our commission. If you will please also voice your opinion regarding having a lesser number of commissioners, following the plan that Supervisor Allen laid out for us. Commissioner Reed, you have the floor.
I think some of this stuff is circumstantial in terms of, first, we're going into a new era where we have a regional collaborative that's going to have its own process, though we will be coordinated. And with respect to our own commission, even though our roles have been specified, including what some people would refer to as the political appointments by the district supervisors, the fact of the matter is that the expertise represented in this commission crosses a whole bunch of boundaries. Everyone sitting here has multiple areas of expertise in the climate and environment, business and transportation field. So I don't like putting people in boxes, and I don't like categories. So who we specify becomes more, and some of it is optics in terms of saying who and what is represented. I personally feel very strongly about the business representation, because I think that the business community, while we've been involved with the agricultural community to a great extent, that the business community overall is more than just the agricultural community, even if it is the primary economic driver in our county. And acknowledging that they have a role is as much a statement and an optic as it is having that kind of expertise represented. So there are other ways to get business community feedback, but especially where we are now in the political environment in which we're operating, businesses are really going to be a primary part of the implementation of this plan and the development of a sustainable economy for our county. So I feel strongly about that one. I'm agnostic on the issue of the number of commissioners. It needs to be manageable as long as we have the kind of expertise that's been represented in the past. And I really expect that we will, from the interest in this area at this point in time, and the opportunities that we have as a county to be modeling the kinds of behavior that's going to be needed at the grassroots level in order to continue the pathway to sustainability. I don't expect that we are going to have difficulty attracting commissioners to serve on the successor commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reed. Anyone else? Yes, Commissioner Kim.
I see the value of it being smaller. I think the reason is I think there are two different commission objectives. I feel like when the objective of the commission is coming up with a plan, I do see the value of having as much engagement, as many commission members as possible. I think when it comes to implementation, I think it shouldn't even be about subject matter expertise. I think it should be implementers, people who are actually in implementation roles, and so that the meetings can be as efficient as possible and they could just really do the implementation plan check as efficiently. Not, again, because I agree. I don't think we've had an issue with quorum, which is actually pretty, that's a great thing because there's other commissions I've served where we couldn't hit quorum. And so
And we've
we,
never, ever not made quorum for a meeting.
that is really special. So that's amazing. But I do think in this next iteration of the commission, folks, it's not even just about subject matter expertise. It's not even about like, oh, I used to do implementation. It's like the ideal scenario is like, I'm doing implementation now in transportation, or I'm doing implementation. I have the ability to influence how business is being done right now. And if you can just get 5 of those people in the room, I mean, and I'm not saying it has to be 5, it could be any number, but I do think quantity is not as, I think in the first one, first iteration, having a wide array of voices, very important. Of course, subject matter voices important. I think the second round is just really seeing where our biggest implementation goals are, objectives, and finding folks who are working on the front lines of implementation and making sure that they're involved.
Thank you, Commissioner Bennett.
This isn't so much a discussion of how many people to have on the commission, but there is a role that I wanted to advocate for. And that is somebody with project management experience. We are, as was pointed out to start off this discussion the last time we had it, we have a huge number of projects over a huge number of departments. And by changing the order, we changed some of my thunder, I guess, on the racial equity tool. I thought it was excellent. And one of the things that they point out for that tool is that it's an important step for operationalizing equity, but it's not sufficient by itself, that there has to be a broader vision of transformation of government. And I think that that's true for our climate change also, that there has to be a broad view. And I think if we break everything down immediately into the smaller tasks and don't look at how they coordinate in terms of the prioritization, the funding, and especially, I think, the culture change, that could be a problem. And I would like to see there be somebody on the commission that really has that perspective of how you manage overall an implementation that is this large.
And if I can say, that is my hope for this new commission, is that it is the strategic vision for implementation. And that I think that our hope is that, these commission members can serve on the tax and get that perspective of direct implementation. But in setting up the proposed tasks as we have them, it's approving the overall implementation plan. It's approving the funding strategy, the equity strategy. My hope is that this commission can really be the strategic vision of how do we get from plan to implementation. And I think that in terms of, I would say, I don't think we need a separate spot for that, but I think in terms of developing the charter and the expectations for the different slots, we can say that, for district appointees, for example, we want to see folks with project management or strategic planning experience who can bring a holistic view of climate action implementation to the commission.
That would be really important, I think, to look for that skill because, well, yes, I think we're good for this strategic vision. Project management is a very specific skill with, specific qualities and just a specific perspective in how you do it. People go to schools for a long time to learn this. And so having some people with some expertise in how you do that, I think would be very helpful.
So I would like to bring us to a close when it comes to our conversation specifically on the number of people on the commission. I want to add one thing. So thank you, Supervisor Allen, for the comment that you made. When I was looking at the proposal from the staff, I saw only one transportation representative. And so it seems to me the one, person or section that I think we could trim down could be maybe the at-large representation, where instead of having 2, we having 1. You wanted to react to that?
We would need to cut out both because we still need to maintain an odd number of
that's
commission
true.
members.
Yeah.
Which we can do. And I think that, or we say that we have 2 at-large members and we assign one of the other. I think to say one of the thoughts of staff is that there could be an expectation that our at-large members be from the unincorporated area.
Yeah.
That's something that we can also apply, not as a requirement, but as an encouragement for some of the district appointees that we're looking at both the incorporated and unincorporated areas. So I think that the at-large, if we are trimming something, it seems like it could be a place to do that.
And that would be my suggestion. So we're trimming the at-large, but we're being very mindful of, seeking representation from unincorporated areas when it comes to the other sections. So I'm seeing some notes in the room. I want to turn back again to Supervisor Allen. So when it comes to number of people on commission, I think we settled on that. Is there something else you wanted to address before we dive further into the
Yeah,
proposal?
just one other thing about appointments, that it was an oddity that I've never seen on any of the other commissions, that usually, because your commission is advisory to the Board of Supervisors, that the Board of Supervisors does the appointments, except for if it's a slot from a certain organization or something. And I see that you have some variability on that the committee appoints the at-large people, the committee appoints something else. That's unusual.
Mhm.
So, I don't have strong feelings about it. It's just not what any of the other advisory committees have.
If I may probe you a little bit more on that, I know you don't have strong feelings on that, but do you have an inkling, like in terms of?
I was just thinking to have it in line with the rest of them, just to have the Board of Supervisors do
Okay.
the appointments rather than having a separate process where
Mhm.
people apply and I guess you all would look at it and then you'd vote as a group. It would just be in line with everyone else, just to have them be.
So
by the Board of Supervisors.
thank you for bringing that to light. So I have like two takes from what I just heard. One is, read into what I'm going to say, because I'm being mischievous here. That was a backhanded compliment regarding our commission being a trailblazer. Once again, we're definitely doing things differently. But I want to ask Kristen, so I know that we make recommendations. So when it comes to appointing, is it a language thing here, or do we, because for the first round, I know we looked at the applications, but we were not the one making the final decisions. We made recommendations when we discussed it.
And this is where I joined the same week that the last commission member was selected. So I don't know why that was put into the charter or
Okay.
why that process was selected. I will say it would be quicker to have it aligned with the other processes and have everyone be appointed at the same time. I think that inherently means we're selecting district reps and then not bringing anybody else on board until a couple of meetings of discussion. That's a very simple tweak in the charter that would then align it with the other commissions.
Any reactions on that? Commissioner
Yeah,
Reed?
I think it was a matter of expediency at that point to get the commission up and running. So the simplest thing was to enable the supervisors to appoint the first set. And then there was a decision that was made somewhere along the line as to whether we would even add commissioners or not. So there was sort of a test run with 9 or whatever. And then, whether we thought, given the capabilities that were represented among us, if some others were needed, and we opted to add. But I don't know that it's necessary at all. Other than that, there's no functional reason for it, other than they just wanted to get up and running. And
that makes sense. So we can just have consistency across all of the slots then.
Sounds good. So I have like 2 questions I want to ask the commission before bringing us to a close of our time on this item. Is that okay, or is there anyone who needs? Yes.
As long as we get to
Commissioner.
the TAC part on.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So I was, let's see. Okay, so I think the first question that I have, this one is very quick. And then we're gonna get to the TAC part. So you saw in the proposal that we're offering or suggesting for the commission to meet every 2 months. Could I just have notes on that, or is there anyone who feels strongly about keeping the meeting monthly or having a different schedule once a quarter? Okay, so second question just has to do regarding the timeline. You see that on page 4. of the attachment, so April 28 and so on, regarding a transition. So I just wanted to have a gauge also of people's reaction to see if this is something we need to discuss or if the timeline makes sense to everyone. Yes, okay. So before we, my last question had to do with the proposed work focus on the commission, but I want to, let's talk about the TAC, if it's okay at this point. So we're listening to you, Supervisor Allen.
Thank you. And so now I'm gonna backtrack for just 1 second
yeah.
about the every other month for this group. I would highly suggest that the group then commits to in the in-between month that then you're doing TAC meetings so that the work of implementing keeps moving forward. Because if you just meet every other month and you're like, what did we talk about last time? Are we gonna get, so make sure we're keep moving forward. So to the tax, I absolutely agree that natural and working lands needs to be a focus, and transportation is your next one. That needs to be a focus. I do wonder about separating out equity and engagement and grant writing funding, that I feel like those functions need to be embedded in the natural and working lands and transportation. I do understand that you'd want to have some initial planning around, as this moving forward, how are we going to meet the equity and engagement and grant writing funding things just functionally, to have some input on that. But I would think that you'd have like that the focus of having the two of natural and working lands and transportation, and then embed those other two functions within the main tax. And I'd be happy to hear what people think about that, since you've been working on it longer than me.
Thank you. Reactions?
Yeah, so just for clarification regarding the equity, you're saying you would like to see those in all the tax.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I think that's important. It is a lot of work. The tax are a powerhouse. They do a lot of work and process a lot, for the commission meetings. So that would be what I'm thinking about, is like so the equity folks that are representing will be attending all the tax, or just separately, appointed to each tax, like separately, like individuals who are appointed to the equity and engagement. Just because it was a lot of work. I'm like, I wonder if that's going to multiply the work for the equity reps.
If I can step in and follow on with what you just said, I watched the two TACs that we had working, and I was flabbergasted continuously at the amount of sheer horsepower that your TAC, the equity engagement, needed and applied for its purpose. I don't necessarily see that need slacking off as we get in implementation. I could see it actually increasing as we get
Yeah,
implementation.
absolutely.
And I think the idea of distributing it, taking it out of the same room and putting it into multiple TACs who have their own special needs and things that they have to apply their horsepower to, strikes me as maybe we're going to be diluting one of our biggest strengths here. So I'm gonna speak up for keeping the equity engagement intact and effective as
its
it
own
has
entity?
been, or in some related way.
Thank you. And I would like to address that also, if Commissioner Reid, before you take the floor. So, excuse me, the logistic, just want us to look at the logistic. Give me a second. So now moving forward, as we're discussing this, the commission has 9 voting members, and then we have the ex officios. Thank you very much. So if we're reducing, the tax to 3 tax as opposed to 4, so we can assume 3 commissioners per tax. So just wanted us to keep that in mind. That said, I want to plead a case a little bit for the grant writing and funding one as its own entity, because the situation has changed since November 5th. And we know that when it comes to federal funding, it's not something that we can for sure rely on moving forward. So I had a discussion, a lengthy conversation with our sustainability team, with Kristen specifically, with some of our elected officials. And my recommendation is to apply as much energy as we can on private funding and on, just philanthropic efforts. I also want to, again, this is just a humble opinion here. 2026 is another election year. And I'm mentioning that because private funding also comes from people like you and me. And so 2026, you can expect that the funding might be maybe a little bit harder to get by because people want to, support political efforts. So 2025, though that TAC won't be in full activity for most of the year, again, just an encouragement to as much attention as we can dedicate to going after funding, helping our team, with that. I will encourage it if you can. Yes, Kristen and then Commissioner Reed. Yeah.
I think in terms of and for that TAC, and I think we're putting these proposals out now, and I think we can adjust and see what works as we move forward. It's probably going to be a couple of months before we have everything established. The thought with that is it could be folks who would support with the overall strategy for how we fund this work as a body. And then our hope is that we could have then either those folks liaise with the different advisory committees, or obviously staff are going to be participating across all of the different TACs. But our hope is that both the grant writing and the equity and engagement advisory committees could be the overall, what is the framework for how we do this? What's the framework for how we go out for funding? And maybe it's like, identifying those additional funding sources and going out for them, and then connecting, being that resource that then connects to the different TACs for more, tangible writing. And then on the equity and engagement, I think it's that overall vision as we go. We'll jump back to the item around the equity framework. I think we really see that group then part of the comments of it's not just a framework or a checklist. It's something that's an interactive tool to say, okay, as we think about individual project implementation, are we doing this equitably? And I think that group is going to have a big role to play, and whatever framework we identify and select to really make sure that all projects are getting filtered through that. So that sort of they become that filter for all of the projects and sort of the funnel. And then they're also advising on engagement. So I think that we can come up and think about what structure we set up to have those advisory committee members work directly with the other TACs.
Okay.
And so that's a structure that we need to figure out and really clearly define. But I think I also see distinct roles for both of those from a staff support perspective.
And I want to keep I don't know which exact aspect of the role relates to that, but when it comes to the different groups working together, we want to make sure we follow due process. Commissioner Reed and then Commissioner Datta.
Yeah, a couple of things. Having sat on the E&E TAC, I think it's important to understand that the E&E TAC is not just about engagement from our disadvantaged communities. It's about everybody's engagement, and that a part of the process was also with respect to structuring a communication strategy and outreach that would invite that engagement. So I definitely think that parsing that among other TACs is consistency and communication is essential. Repetition is what promotes action. And so there's that oversight that is also required. And as it relates also to the TACs in general, is meetings, TACs, as I understood it or proposed it, can come and go. So as needed. So once a framework and a checklist or a structure or whatever specific implementation program is established under a subject topic and then ready to go, then gets handed back to staff and away we go. So these could come and go as time allows. And then the other thing about the meetings, and also in my comments that I submitted, was the reference to this being a working commission. So we don't just meet every other month and twiddle our thumbs in between. So there will be TAC meetings, and I've also in my comments proposed that we have a speakers bureau that as these commissioners have in the last 3 years, go out and represent to communities and interest groups and other organizations. What is the cap? What are we doing? And be able to speak to particular topics, et cetera. So, and I think the tax system integrates with that timeframe very well. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reed. And I want to affirm, second what you stated regarding the new commission, but this commission is a working commission. So acknowledging the time, extra time that everyone has been putting in. Commissioner Dutton.
So is it my understanding that each person on the ongoing commit or the revitalized commission would also be on at least one TAC? And then how about other members, which doesn't seem to be mentioned here in much detail? How large do you envision them being? Would that other membership come and go? How would that work?
Hold on, do you mean the ex-officials?
The advisory committees.
Advisory, okay.
So that wouldn't be specified in this charter because we're specifically recommending these be technical advisory, staff develop technical advisory committees, because that gives us the flexibility to have members come and go as needed. If we were to do these as ad hocs of the commission, it would be solely commission representatives, which really limits our ability to bring in additional voices. And so, I think I'm really excited to, on the natural and working land side, for example, work with Heather to think about what makes the most sense. How do we want to have a core group that is sort of participating in an ongoing basis? And then do we bring in other folks as needed? I'm almost, a thought as we develop annual implementation plans, we're going to have an entirely new set of actions that we're going to be bringing forward in a given year. So on an annual basis, making sure that we at a minimum have our commission members continuing on and being that consistency, maybe a few additional core members, but that's not specifically specified, and we do need to figure it out, but I think we have that flexibility and we don't have to at this time specify a number as part of the charter process.
Thank you, Kristen. At this point, I want to remind us that we're also going to take public comments. So just keep that in mind, and I'm timing us on this. Commissioner Kim.
Yes, in regards to the consolidation of the tax, I think two thoughts. One thought I think is ultimately what comes to mind is what would work the best for the staff, because the staff is really implementing. The more tax there are going to be, there's more staff time that's going to be dedicated. So if it is less TAC meetings, then that's more staff time focused on not having to staff additional TAC meetings. With that being said, the second point, as I realize, because grants and equity and inclusion is, or engagement, those are big existential objectives. And so if they are consolidated, then it means these TACs do need to make sure that those two objectives are are prioritized in a way that they don't get lost. But I can see it getting lost because they're just transportation, that's huge. I just feel like there's a lot of priorities there. And same with natural and working lands. There's so much going on there. So I feel that, but I do see a way that it could be integrated, and because it should be integrated, but I can also, I'd love to hear what would be the best for the staff time, and would be the most helpful to, the folks who are actually working on the implementation.
I would underscore the hope that these are working bodies. I think that we don't have time to do meetings for the sake of meetings with these groups, but if we have, a grant writing group that can, for example, sit down with our climate grant writer and help develop the strategy, and potentially, even with a grant writer, we are doing a ton of work as staff to develop project concepts. And if there is a body of folks who are equally on board and understand the actual projects that we're trying to develop, they could be liaisons with the grant writers. And so I think that when we put together the call for commission member recruitment for that next stage, we want to be really, really explicit about that expectation. And to Commission Member Reed's comments about, a speakers bureau going out and liaising with the community, I think that it's a big ask of folks to sit on the commission with all of these additional responsibilities. But I think that that is the hope, that there's so much interest and we want to try to seize onto that. So I think with those expectations in mind, that's where we proposed these 4 advisory committees. And we can reassess as needed and depending on interest.
Thank you. I'm going to reserve the comment I want to make now, but I want to ask Commissioner Alvarez if maybe there is anything he would like to address before I speak further. Pelayo?
Only if I heard correctly, because I came in late, sorry. The idea of having transportation and natural worklands be one or committee that was going to tackle those 2 issues?
No,
Okay. That was
2 separate ones.
So thank you so much. And then my last comment on the topic of the tax specifically, I personally am in favor of keeping all 4 and the grant writing being separate. Beside the reasons that I mentioned, the clock is ticking is the feeling that I have. The funding that is available now, there is no guarantee that it's going to be available next year or, moving forward. So, and this is a type of work that requires as much attention as we can give it. It requires research, and many of the grants that we're talking about actually require also coordinator, meaning you have to work with different groups within the county, across the cities, as Supervisor Kim was saying, and all that is going to take work. So that's, my personal opinion on that. Final question here, Supervisor Allen is with us, and I'm sure she would love to hear answer. So do we have some type of consensus when it comes to the number of tax? What's what is the direction we're heading at? Commissioner Britton?
Holding up 4 fingers.
Not confusing.
I support.
Thank you.
I support the staff recommendation, and I think the fact that you came up with it suggests that you think you have horsepower and time enough in staff to support that number of tax, which sort of addresses Andrew's point. So I like it. They seem sufficiently distinct from each other, and they all seem important to me.
Thank you, Ken. Do we have any reactions online?
We do have 1 public comment around a additional slot on the commission from
Okay.
Chris Granger, and Chris
Okay.
had to leave. So I can read that.
Mhm.
It's not directly related to tax, but okay. Hello, this is Chris Granger from Cool Davis. Would like to suggest that an official rep from the Regional Resilience Collaborative be added to the membership formation of the commission to comment on the remarks by Commissioner Reed regarding business representation. We are hoping to have robust business participation in the Resilience Collaborative too.
Can you, I know Chris isn't there to speak for herself, but I need clarification on that. It was a suggestion to have 1 representation from the collaborative as a member of the commission.
As a member of the commission. And
So question, the staff is already part of the collaborative, so why?
yeah, I think that would be my thought is the staff, Juan and I are of course, at the time, the coordinating liaisons of that, and we are the staff liaisons to this commission.
Okay.
I think that almost the inverse, one of the things that we will at one point in time explore is what role do these commissions have in the overall commission?
Yes, yeah.
Or the overall collaborative? And so I think that's my initial
Okay,
response
thank you.
this time.
And then I want to, at this point, also add that whoever is going to be the chair, so the chair is part of the process of setting an agenda. So if there's ever an agenda item where we will need to have an extended conversation with members of the collaborative, that can then be included, I think, in agenda. Commissioner White, I see the reaction.
We have Commissioner White, and then Bernadette Austin is also online as well.
And then before we take Commissioner White, I saw a reaction from Supervisor Allen. Is there anything you wanted to say before we take online comments?
No, I was just going to say, you can take or leave any of my comments. So I love this commission. They're like, no, that's a bad idea, which is totally fine.
It's great.
And then just my other comment is that I'm
Yes.
happy to be here for the first time and hear Suzanne Reed say that we need a communication strategy. So
Mm.
that's what she does.
You know me well.
Yes.
Supervisor Allen. So Commissioner White, you have the floor now.
Just kind of a reminder to everybody is that when you are on a commission or a TAC, the ethics rules say that you can't also financially benefit from this. So the folks that want to join these groups have to be very clear that they could not participate in some of the implementation grants. And we would need to be clear with them up front because people who are passionate would like to be passionate about it in all ways.
That's an important reminder. Thank you so much for highlighting that. And Commissioner Austin? No? No? Okay. So I think this concludes our time on the tax specifically. I had one last question I wanted to ask the Commission before, taking an action on this. I wanted to know if anyone has any comments regarding the focus of the work as it is suggested. After we discuss that, I would like us to vote on accepting the proposal or not. Yes, Commissioner Dattel.
So I would really like to see some language somewhere in one of these 4 points under the purpose outline about evaluation. So this seems to be missing. But we need to be really clear that as we do this work and we create an annual plan and we create funding for it and an engagement strategy, that at the end of the year, there also needs to be an evaluation of what was accomplished or not accomplished. And I'm not sure whose responsibility that is exactly, but I do think it would be good to have that language in here, that we're serious about gathering the data and evaluating how the planning went in terms of
I appreciate that.
implementation went each year.
Can we, in the language, have that as regarding the last meeting of the year for the Commission to make sure that this is systematically a part of the agenda?
I think I'd want to think about, we likely wouldn't have year-end data until the beginning of the following year. I think this was part of my challenge in thinking about what is our schedule? When do we approve,
Sure.
our annual plan versus our evaluation? We need 7 meetings in December and January and then but we can think about where we slot that in to an agenda. And I think that, this staff has created an annual and end of year report for 2024 that we'll be sharing very soon. And so I think that a lot of the data collection effort will be on staff, and then maybe it's sort of a commitment to at the first meeting of the new year, we're doing a staff report out on our process from year to date that then informs our implementation plan for the following year. But we can include some language around evaluation as part of the charter.
I think
So have a dashboard. So
Yeah.
that has to integrate into how those evaluation data are presented overall.
Again, from a member of the staff to take note, I will suggest that that evaluation that Commissioner Dattel is referring to be paired with that we make sure that we're timing also a presentation to the Board of Supervisors, because so the last 2 years, I think, is the sustainability manager who did it, not the commissioner. But just keeping that in mind. And then before I give the floor to Commissioner Kim, who I discovered today is very fond of checklists. So we could have also, I think it wouldn't hurt to have guidelines when it comes to how you will want that evaluation to go, right? So this is not a conversation for now, but it does help to have some just parameters. I will take Commissioner Kim comment, and then it is 5:24. And I think that also there was one more person who needed the floor. So which order shall I? Yeah, could we?
Can we
Yeah.
have Heather?
Yes, Heather, please, you have the floor. Thank you so much for your patience. You're very discreet.
Oh, thank you, commissioners, and good to see everybody. And I guess I just wanted to speak the interest of the Resource Conservation District in Yolo County to be a part of this implementation commission. This is kind of our specialty, is getting stuff done. And especially in the natural working land sector. So, you know, if you'll have us, we would love to be on the commission. If you need us to be, you know, officio, ex officio, or we could do that too. We're right down the street, so I'm okay to be here in person and can commit to that. Kate Race is also on the screen, and she and I are always working on, you know, climate ag and climate in our space. So really looking forward to, you know, getting to work on this if we get to be a part of it.
Thank you. Before you go anywhere, it was very important for us to hear you say that, because you have been partnering with this commission from day one. And on that note, again, hi, Kate. I would like to thank both of you just for the consistency and the incredible amount of work that you've done. Keep the good news coming, because the good news is you telling us that you want to continue to work with us, that we didn't do anything to kind of like make you feel like, I don't want to have any part of that. So we need all the good news we can get this year. So thank you for the, you know, affirming your commitment to the work and just for collaborating at all levels. We really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any reactions before Kate returns to her seat? Any questions? No? Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Allen.
Sorry, just one more thing.
Yes, yeah.
Is that it's probably, that's not going to happen tonight, or I
Mhm.
don't know if you have an appropriate TAC or subcommittee or ad hoc now, but I think it would be helpful that before it comes to the Board of Supervisors
Mhm.
to have, if you had specifications for appointments, that it would be very helpful to include those so
Mhm.
that when we're doing the recruitment and also the appointments, that we meet any of the matrix that you're looking for.
Okay, I'm making a note. Thank you.
May I follow up on exactly?
Yes, Commissioner Britton.
So I am entirely in support of losing my position on this as showing that I believe in the principle of making this a smaller commission. But I also believe very strongly in the importance of having the unincorporated
Yeah.
areas of the county reported. So I would
Mhm.
suggest that in the checklist of requirements for the district appointees, that at least two of those district appointees, maybe just one, but maybe two, should be required, not just suggested, to be coming from unincorporated areas of the county. And then it's smaller and still contains the same voices.
Thank you, Commissioner Britton. Okay, I see some notes. Great. So, Kristen, do you have the bandwidth to just give us a summary of some of the suggestions that were made? I can get us started just very briefly. I want to note that we talked about adding language when it comes to possibility of an evaluation, whether it's in the beginning of the year, you know, at another time. So making sure that that will be reflected. Making notes of Supervisor Allen suggesting from, you know, asking the commission to consider that we provide also guidelines for supervisors, you know, when they will be choosing appointees. And Kristen, what else am I forgetting? I'm looking at my notes. And I'm asking all of that because we're going to have a motion to approve. So I want to make sure that these changes are reflected.
And did you say removing? I knocked my water bottle off
It's
while you
okay.
were going through your overview. Removing the two at large
Yeah.
and I don't think that in this motion we need to say exactly, but
No.
having some specifications around the district representatives, including unincorporated
Mhm.
representation. I think those were the key changes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So with that in mind, with those edits in mind, do we have a motion to approve the proposal of the format of the new commission? Commissioner Britton, do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Serena. Final questions? Oh, okay, sorry, questions, comments before we vote? We're ready to vote.
Oh, I think just we need to ask if there's any other public comment.
Okay, do we have any additional public comments before the vote? Thank you, Kristen. No?
No other public comment. at this
Okay, no other public comments, so let's vote.
time. Commissioner Reed,
Aye.
Commissioner Daddle,
Aye.
Commissioner Ullman, Commissioner Kim,
I,
Commissioner Serena. Aye. Commissioner White,
Aye.
Chair Mbondo,
Aye.
Commissioner Austin. Come back to Commissioner Austin. Commissioner Alvarez.
Aye.
Commissioner Bennett.
Aye.
Commissioner Britton.
Aye.
Commissioner Austin. Motion passes.
The motion passes. Okay, so this is historical. We are on, on the path of having a commission on YCCAC 2.0. So let's keep the good work going. So thank you, Supervisor Allen, for being with us in person for this part of the meeting. See you. Okay, so we're going to resume the normal, order of agenda items. So please, let's now listen to agenda item number 5. So this is staff announcements. I don't see any specific attachments, so we're just going to start with Yuri. Hi, Yuri.
I'm here to provide an update. Ooh, let me catch my breath real quick. I'm here to provide an update on our YOLO Energy Partnership program that we have going on, which focuses on enhancing energy efficiency and sustainability within our unincorporated communities. Our main goal with this program is to support residents, particularly in the low-income communities, in reducing energy cost, improving home comfort, as well as increasing community resilience. So just to provide a brief overview of what exactly is in our YOLO Energy Partnership, it consists of 4 different programs. We have our Home Energy Score pilot program, our weatherization program, as well as our electric advisors program hosted by VCE, Valley Clean Energy. And last but not least, our housing rehabilitation program. Its official long name is called Owner Occupied Housing Rehabilitation Program. And this one is under the County Administrator's Office. And to provide a quick rundown of what exactly these programs are going to do, I will start off one by one. So with the Home Energy Score pilot program, I have provided some brief presentations before in the past, but this program will be offering free energy assessments to homeowners just to help them understand how efficient their homes currently are and what they can do to improve upon that. And this scoring system is using the Departments of Energy scoring system, and it scores their home on a range from 1 to 10, 10 being the most efficient. And with the score, it calculates over 50 data points within the home, from insulation levels to window characteristics. This report will provide cost-effective recommendations and potentially improved scores if upgrades are made. For this program, we'll be working with Earth Advantage, who are experts within home energy scoring, and Archon Energy Solutions, which will be conducting our in-person assessments. And this is a pilot program, so it's going to test the effectiveness and community reception before the statewide rollout in 2026 for the home energy score in California. And next we have our weatherization program. And just to kind of backtrack a little bit, both our home energy score pilot program and weatherization program are going to be directly managed by our sustainability division. So with this weatherization program, we'll be giving out free weatherization kits that include items such as LED light bulbs, window insulation film, power strips, and other energy saving tools. And these kits are meant to be easy to use, simple DIY energy improvements. All kits will come with bilingual instructions that will have QR codes for videos and guides as well to ensure that everyone can implement them. And our outreach is focused on low-income households to maximize energy savings and community resilience. Again, these are both managed by our sustainability division. And for the last two programs, we have electric advisors hosted by Valley Clean Energy, and they will be providing, it's already live. So they are currently providing free personalized guidance to customers on electrification upgrades, as well as offering virtual energy audits, technical help, and customized Go Electric roadmaps to guide residents through electrification process. And this program also has a call line to help residents find and apply rebates and incentives available through either local, state, or guess not federal anymore. So in order to find more information on this, VC has their call lines up and live, as well as their website. And just to provide some more information on our housing rehabilitation program, once again, this one is managed directly underneath the county administrator's office, and they are working with Thurman Consulting for this program. And what exactly this program is that they are going to be offering financial assistance in the form of 2% deferred loans to unincorporated homeowners for critical repairs. And critical repairs can mean anything from new roofs, insulation, HVAC system, and safety improvements. It's meant to maintain safe and affordable housing, especially within our unincorporated areas within Yolo County. So focus is going to be on improving energy efficiency and home safety. And with all these programs in mind, we plan to have recommend people to utilize our home energy score system, and then followed by that, depending on their home needs, they would be directed either to our housing rehabilitation program, either our weatherization kits, or electric advisors. And with these programs, we're working closely with two community-based organizations, Decalotis as well as Cool Davis. And with our two CBOs, they're assisting us with engaging underserved communities, as well as ensuring that our programs are equitable, and as well as supporting educational and public awareness for all of these. Next steps is and timeline, where Natalie and I are actively preparing our outreach and educational materials for a March launch. And we're currently finalizing it all just to make sure that we have effective communications and participation underway. Again, we've been collaborating and working very closely with Decalotis and Cool Davis, from reviewing our applications to websites. Overall, YEP is a comprehensive initiative designed to improve energy efficiency and sustainability within Yolo County. And through this, we plan on working with community, particularly with Decalotis and Cool Davis, to ensure that we address the needs of our residents. I'm happy to answer any questions in regards to Yolo Energy Partnership, also known as YEP.
Sorry, couldn't resist. Thank you, Yuri. That was fascinating to hear and understand why we did not have a meeting in January. You've all been very busy, hard at work. Before I yield the floor to my colleagues, just a quick question regarding the outreach. So first, kudos on collaborating with other CBOs. Definitely, bringing the three programs together. I see how, you can save on energy and resources and so on. It's just fantastic. So you mentioned that the material will be bilingual, if I heard well.
Sorry, what was that?
You mentioned that the outreach material will be bilingual, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so what is the plan for distribution? Just kind of like
For distribution, at least we plan on hosting outreach events, and for outreach events, we really plan on having people sign in to our programs. We're going to have applications there, so they don't just have to apply online. We want people to be active within our outreach events, and we're going to be posting this on our social medias, as well as Facebook, Instagram, our newsletters, and I know that some of our CBOs also want to host their own outreach events to promote this program far and wide within Knights Landing particularly.
Fantastic. Kristen.
Yeah, our CBO partners are awesome. As you know, they supported our CAP engagement process. So particularly DeCloris, they're doing a lot of direct one-on-one engagement to farm workers about all of these programs. Cool Davis is planning on doing direct and targeted outreach as well. They've been working with the county to collect data of different parcels and to really make sure that we're targeting our outreach and engagement as much as we possibly can. And the thought here is that we can do a lot of targeted outreach and we've set up a process for supporting folks through the pipeline. As Yuri was describing, there is a lot in this program. And so having these CBOs on board, we're kind of, they can be like the concierge that take somebody through the whole process from doing that direct in-person one-on-one engagement to then helping them with the application process and then sorting out when you get your report, what does that mean? And where do you go from there? So we've been doing, Yuri and Natalie, just amazing, huge kudos, a lot of planning meetings with DeCloris and Cool Davis to set up a whole pipeline for outreach and then to help folks really feel supported through the process.
Thank you, Kristen. Commissioner Dattel and then Commissioner Alvarez.
So Yuri, did you say that all of these are going to be with the energy score pilot? So everybody will have that first? They'll have that evaluation by.
No, but we do recommend for people to start off within our Home Energy Score pilot program. So for our Home Energy Score pilot program, we're also calling that HES. There's only going to be up to 50 free vouchers. So we definitely recommend people utilize that program first, especially when we have like vouchers still available.
So I'm on the evaluation kick this evening. So it'd be really nice if, after we've done this for, however long, a year or two, that we can report more than just we had so many participants in each of these programs. But are we really going to be able to tell if it changed their energy usage? If doing these different things to their homes, weatherization, what was it, critical repairs, or met with, Valley Clean Energy. So we need some baseline data right at the beginning, and then we need to be able to measure at the end. And is that part of what, is that incorporated in the programs?
Yeah, so Natalie and I, we're still working out exactly how our program evaluation is going to look, and we're collaborating with our CBOs for that aspect. And we do plan to have that ready. And I would be, I would love to provide how exactly that's going to look during our next commission meeting.
Great, thanks.
Thank you, Robin. Commissioner Alvarez.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see this being rolled out. This is pretty amazing. Do you have participation targets for any of the or all of the programs?
So for participation targets, at least within our application, we are asking people to check off if they fall in within any of these categories. So I guess these are like our priority focus groups. We're looking for farm workers, low-income households, non-English speakers, elderly seniors, so anyone over 65, and individuals with disabilities, all within the unincorporated communities. And when I mention these groups, this is in particular to our Home Energy Score as well as weatherization, since those are the two programs directly managed by our division.
Like, do you have like quantitative, like percentage or number of participants or?
As of now, we don't have that qualitative side yet.
But I think it currently 100%, there's in the application for our weatherization kits, from conversations with our CBO partners, we think that we are going to be oversubscribed with our 300 kits just from folks within those populations, and likely the same with Home Energy Score. So for this pilot, that's our expectation, is that you meet one of the different criteria. Folks are more than welcome to sign up and track the programs if we are not oversubscribed. But for now, we've set an expectation that that's the eligibility criteria.
Thank you, Kristen. And before I give the floor to Commissioner Ullman, Yuri, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but do you remember how many unincorporated residents we have in Yolo?
Unincorporated residents, I do not have the
Okay.
number at the top of my head, but I am focused on like the communities. So
Mhm.
we are focusing on like Zamora, Esparto, Madison, Knights Landing, Guaranda. So that's kind of my areas I've been looking at.
Thank you. Great. Commissioner Ullman, I think you
I'll
wanted.
make this real fast. I think it's very interesting, as Commissioner Dottle mentioned, get the data now so we can see where the impact is 12 months down the road and that sort of thing. First question comes to my mind is, and it doesn't have to be answered right here, is there a funding strategy which would enable, once we determine areas of impact or best traction for this, how are we going to enable it to scale? And how do we pay for it? But I think overall, I think this is extremely encouraging. It's the sort of thing that really resonates with me. So thank you very much.
Of course. And just to provide some response to that, currently the funding that we do have is just going to be, I would say like a year long for the programs, but we are trying to find additional funding so we can extend them and continue providing our services to unincorporated residents.
Very good.
Mhm. I have a comment.
Yes, Commissioner Serena.
Hi, Yuri. This is so exciting. One of the things, just echoing what my fellow commissioners have said regarding data, just really would love to see once this has been rolled out, which you said next month is wow, exciting. Testimonials for, one, the growth of the program, but you did mention safety as one of the kind of goals is to make people safe, which is important. How are you guys defining that? Is it like, safety around, heat events or around, weather events? What is the measure? Like, how are you guys looking at that?
So when I originally did some research into this, this was a couple of months ago. A lot of like the weatherization kits, a lot of the research around that was targeting around children's asthma, especially within
Air
like
quality.
in the home, the air
Yeah.
quality. So that's like what we're trying to improve.
I see. That's great. Will you guys be incorporating like looking at how heat impacts health as well? Like that is a safety issue because, heat, it kills people and it's a big issue, obviously here in Yolo County during the summer and people who don't, or maybe say, AC or folks that are even utilizing swamp coolers, they can't really bring the temperature down sometimes to a safe, I would call it, safe level. And if that's not already being looked at, that should be something that is also being, looked at, heat events, weather, how that is impacting your health. Air quality is so important as well, of course. But yeah, I was just wondering if that is being folded into that.
So it hasn't been folded in directly, but we have started the conversation, especially with Cool Davis, in terms of
Mhm.
building out our website to have more resources for people to potentially even build their own ACs. I may be getting AC incorrect here, but I know Cool Davis, they were talking to me about how they have a host of resources within their website that they would like to unincorporated residents to as well get connected to. But that's an area that I would love to expand in.
That would be great. Thank
And
you.
to build on that, I think that the scope of these programs, these, other than the OOHR, these were all early action projects that we
Right.
really defined the scope, defined, when we asked the board for the budget allocations for this. And so there are, through the Energy Advisors Program, we don't have any direct incentive money is the main thing. That when we think about actually shifting and safety, direct incentive dollars would be amazing. And we just don't have that. And so through the Energy Advisors Program, part of what Valley Clean Energy is going to be doing is it's fully multilingual service. You get assigned with somebody who is able to walk you through any rebate applications, anything to make updates to your home. The OOHR program, it's if somebody is willing and interested to do a loan, it's similar service, full support to make any upgrades to your home. And what we're really envisioning and hoping is that the CBO outreach partners can help folks get to these programs and see what's available for them there. You know, outside of this is really laser focused on energy. We are working with the public health team and through some of Juan's work with the Regional Resilience Collaborative. That's really where a lot of our extreme heat response work is going to live. That's one of the defined purposes of the Regional Resilience Collaborative. And so we're working right now on a foundation grant application to have direct incentives for farm workers during extreme heat events. And so we're working with Health and Human Services, Public Health and Agricultural Resources coordinators on that. So don't want you to think that work is not being thought of in advance, just it sort of they're running in parallel with this program.
Great. That's wonderful to hear. Is there, with the application questionnaires around safety, is any of that listed? Like, do you feel, I'm just wondering what that looks like, how safety is being assessed?
For our home energy score and our weatherization programs, we have two separate applications, but for the most part, they do look pretty much alike. But for our home energy score, we do ask additional questions, but in terms of the house, like what are the area problems, like of the house, like what areas do you want to focus in on? What are the areas of concerns?
Right.
More dealing with like house structure.
Yeah. So it's open-ended, a lot open. Okay. I got you.
And I will say we're really trying, we've been working really closely with stakeholders and Cool Davis to try to keep these as achievable as possible. I think we're trying to address through these programs in the grant application, you know, the farm worker health assessment called out 46% of farm workers in Yolo County have experienced a heat-related illness. Like that's huge. And so I think that we know there's an issue. We're not directly evaluating. It's hard for us to track the safety as part of this program, but I think these programs we're trying to address, you know, do you have concerns with heat in your home? And then we're hoping that through the evaluation and we can come back with what that looks like, we can hopefully get at a little bit more of that. Are we having the impact that we intend to have through these programs?
Thank you, Kristen. And I will expect HHSA to really be on top of that.
Sarah Morgan has a comment.
Okay, so Sarah need the floor. Sarah, before we give you the floor, I just want to remind us all that it is 5:52. So I'm going to speed us along after we take Ken and Sarah's comments. So Sarah, be listening. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Thanks. Thanks, Yuri. I was just had a question out of curiosity. What is the breakdown on these programs to benefit homeowners versus renters?
Yeah, so for our home energy score, we have up to 50 vouchers, and we're going to be directing it to homeowners, but we are opening it up to renters. The only thing with renters, though, we are asking that their landlords are the ones to apply for the home energy score pilot program. And for our weatherization program, we have up to 300 free weatherization kits, and this is open to both renters and homeowners. So with the intention for the weatherization program, we do intend for more, I guess, renter population to utilize the weatherization program. And then just to provide some, for the other programs, they are targeted for homeowners. I believe for electric advisors, potentially a renter can definitely utilize it, but with limitations.
Thank you. I'm just wondering if as part of the outreach, we should be targeting specifically landlords or property management companies, just to make sure we're capturing, you know, low income renter type of population. So I just want to put that out there.
Thank you for that thought. I will definitely incorporate it.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Very important. Ken, and then Commissioner Reed. Yes, Ken.
Very, very short one here. I just want to make sure in your geographic scope that you're looking at the Yolo County housing up by Winters, the El Rio Villa spot that's in your list.
Yes.
Excellent. I thought it would be. Thanks.
You can, Commissioner Reed.
Yuri, that was gobsmackingly good. Your command of the topic and the subject matter and the way that you've woven the different programs together and your knowledge and facility to explain that to us. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I hope in a year or so, you'll write this up as a program that we can share with others, because I think it would serve as a model for other jurisdictions for implementation. Thank you.
Most definitely. And just to provide a little, I guess Natalie and I, we both have applied to showcase what we have been working on to two different organizations. So hopefully we'll be able to get that opportunity sooner than later.
Fantastic. Thank you, Yuri. So I think this is it. I appreciate you letting us grill you. Thanks for answering our questions. So let's listen. I suggest that, we listen to the rest of staff announcement and we reserve any question that we have at the very end for the sake of time. So Juan, we will listen to an update on Yolo County Regional Resilience Collaborative. Thank you, Juan.
A quick update on the Yolo County Regional Resilience Collaborative. We hired a consultant, Farallon Strategies, to help us with our collaborative. And together with Farallon and the rest of the collaborative members, we will have our kickoff meeting this Wednesday, February 26th. And a couple of our more immediate goals are to consider new members and to decide on a governance structure.
Thank you, Juan. So for context, Farallon, what's the name of the company, the whole name?
Farallon Strategies.
Thank you. Farallon Strategies. You should remember because Michael McCormick is a founder and he was a consultant working with the commission in the very beginning. So, and I think he might tomorrow be officially be intronized as or appointed, I meant to say, as a planning commissioner too. So just for your information. So I think we listen. Kristen, did you want to say something before we listen to 5C?
I was going to say Michael's chiming in as watching in as an attendee tonight.
Oh.
So we're excited to have him and grateful for Farallon for applying and really excited to get started.
Thanks for joining us, Michael. Thank you, Juan. Michael, if you stay with us until the end, it will be great to hear from you if you would like. So we're listening now to agenda item 5C, an update on zero emission vehicle action plan from Julia, I think is joining us online.
Yeah, hi everyone. It's nice to see you virtually. I will make my updates brief. Since we last met in November for the progress for the ZEB action plan we've actually kicked off. And so we've kicked off with our consulting firm who will be supporting this project, which is DKS. And so we had an initial kickoff meeting at the end of January. And then for our next steps, we're building out our meeting schedule and then initiating the RFI process. So more updates to come there, but we have just had a kickoff meeting. We have another meeting at the end of this month, but I presume that at our next commission meeting, we'll have a lot more to share on progress updates. This project is going to move very quickly. So looking forward to sharing more of that with you guys. I want to pause there quickly if anyone has any questions before moving along to the next update on the CAP dashboard. But I know my update was brief.
We're ready for the next update. Thank you. We're going to take all the questions at the end.
Awesome. Okay. Then next update on the CAP dashboard. So we are still working on the contracting process, hoping to do a project kickoff in the next couple of weeks. Something I wanted to mention just based off of some of the earlier staff updates too, is that the CAP dashboard consultant will also be helping with determining metrics for a lot of our projects. So those qualitative metrics for some of our different projects and programs we'll kind of be working in tandem with the consultant on the CAP dashboard as they're going to be supporting us putting all this data together and putting it online for people to view. So wanted to mention that. And we will be giving more of an update once we're actually able to execute the contract, which I'm hoping is in the next couple weeks. So those are my updates. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Julia. So update on February 2025 Green Team meeting. Kristen, you have the floor. This is agenda item 5E.
I'll run through these last two quickly. So the staff met with the Green Team at the beginning of this month. We had over 30 staff members attend from across the departments, and we're just constantly grateful and amazed by all the excitement and engagement for this. There's been a lot of really positive forward motion. I mentioned that foundation grant or that private grant that we're applying to with HHSA. So lots of great opportunities to move this work forward. The outcomes of the meeting were to identify some of the priority actions that different divisions and departments could commit to advancing this year. And then identifying priority actions for funding that we would want to put into an RFQ for a grant writer. So segueing to that next item, we are putting together that request for qualifications for a grant writer in the coming weeks based on the input that we received from the Green Team and then what we feel we can advance as staff this year. So we're going to be requesting, trying to be specific as much as we can in our request for grant writers for specific grant programs or types of grant programs or funding streams so that we can really get somebody who can help us do the types of grants that we want to do. Some of the delay here has been, we want to see how the funding landscape continues to shake up and really use this RFQ appropriately. And so even now it feels like a constant churning of news about what this means for federal funding, for state funding, where different foundations are stepping in. And so we hope by March, there's a little bit more clarity on our direction moving forward. And so that's our rough timeline for getting out that request for qualifications.
Thank you, Kristen. Before I take questions from the floor, do we have any reactions from anyone online? No? Okay, commissioners, any question, clarification needed? Commissioner Ullman.
How often does the Green Team meet?
The Green Team meets quarterly.
Thank you. Anyone else? Do we have any public comments on that item?
I have a comment from Michael McCormick. He said he's not able to talk at the moment, but he wanted to share that the whole Farallon team is very excited to continue supporting climate work in Yolo County, including team members Julia Kim and Jen McKenzie.
Okay, thank you again, Michael, for joining us. I also want to state, because I think that will be a detail of importance to the Commission, that Farallon Strategies is a local consulting firm. Just feel the need to mention that. So this concludes our time on agenda item 5. We are now going to, I think, spend about 10 minutes or less, if possible, on agenda item number 6. Let's talk about appointing 2 commission members to serve on a review committee for the Yolo County Community Climate Action Fund. Please refer to attachment C. Juan, I believe you'll be the one leading us in this conversation.
All right, hello again. So the purpose of this item is to appoint 2 commission members to serve on the review committee for the Yolo County Community Climate Action Fund. So a little background, this fund was approved by the Board of Supervisors on December 3rd, 2024. This fund supports phase 1 actions of the CAP. Awards will range from $5,000 to $30,000. Eligible applicants include CBOs, school districts, special districts, and tribal governments. Some key dates: applications open March 5th, 2025. We will host 2 informational webinars, one on March 19th, another on April 11th. The application deadline will be May 9th. The proposal review is scheduled to take place between May 12th and May 23rd. With awards announced June 2025, projects should start by July 2025 and completion date of projects by December 2026. So review committee formation, it will be a 5-member committee, 3 county sustainability staff, plus the 2 Climate Action Commission members. This composition ensures for fair and transparent review process. Reviews will be based on CAP alignment, equity, collaboration, and other criteria. Members cannot apply for funding and cannot advise applicants. So now for a call for volunteers. So we need 2 commission members. If more than 2 volunteer, we will have a vote. Members must be available for application review throughout May. and must sign a conflict of interest statement. So now I will pass it off to you all to decide on the 2 members.
Thank you. Before I again open the floor, can you please clarify for us what a conflict of interest can look like for us?
I will do that. So you have to assure us that you are not making any financial decisions as a member of the evaluation committee. You are not potentially receiving funds as a result of the decisions that you make on the evaluation committee. And so that's where I think we want to be very careful about to the comment that Commission Member White said before. If you all approved every member, aspect of the grant, you would all be very much removed from participating in any capacity. I think that by setting up this evaluation committee, anybody who participates in that process, that's really where those limitations are very firm. You cannot advise, you have to really assert that you do not have holdings in any company that might benefit from the fund.
This just again for clarification. So when it comes to the fund, so the commission will make recommendations when it comes to the awards, or is that the work of the sustainability team and the procurement division?
That would be the work of this review. So this is, in terms of procurement, this operates like a mini grant, for example. And so it's kind of like a grant program. All decisions are made by that evaluation committee. Because there's a procurement process involved, the commission is not reviewing the applications, but we hope to set up this committee with liaisons for the commission in that evaluation.
So this is similar to when the commission was working on selecting a consultant. So I was asking to check that there will be no conflict when it comes to if the commission has to vote on anything related to that. Okay, thank you. Any questions, Commissioner Dattel?
So by definition, do all of these organizations or entities need to be Yolo County based? Everybody
Yes.
who receives a grant?
Yes. They must be based in Yolo County and work must be done in Yolo County.
Happy dance, sorry. Thank you, Robin, for asking. Any additional questions on that? Anyone online? No? So Juan, I'm gonna ask for public comments before concluding. Any public comments on this item?
No public comments at this time.
Okay, so now let's get to the heart of the matter. Who is interested in joining that review committee? Or do you want me to call names at this one? Use my privilege as chair, put you on the spot.
I already notified Juan that I'd be interested in serving or be available to serve. I think that there are folks associated with the communities that will be served by these grants that are probably in a better position to represent them than I. But if you need a commissioner, I'm happy to serve.
Thank you, Suzanne, for not making us wait in suspense. So we have one commissioner who expressed interest. Anyone else? Putting my glasses on so I can look at you in the eyes.
So if there's a date at which I know I am not available within the this range, which is does that mean that I could not do it?
Actually, before they answer, will the meetings be online? Because when we selected a consultant, everything was done virtually.
Yeah, the meetings will be done virtually, and we give that range as that's the range in which evaluations need to be completed. Most of that will be done individually, and then there will be meetings that we set up that we can easily schedule around a day or a few days absence.
Not our own time.
Exactly, yeah.
Thank you. Any additional question before I go back to grilling Robin? Okay, so Robin?
Yes, I would be interested. In serving.
Thank you. So before we conclude on that, anyone else dying to join the pool so we fight over those 2 seats? No? Okay, so Juan, I think you have 2 people, so we need to vote, I guess, to make it official. Great. So I think, I would want to ask someone to make a motion, then have a second, and then we go to voting.
I move that Commissioners Reed and Dettel be
Appointed.
nominated
Mhm.
for this important body.
Thank you, Commissioner Britton. Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Serena, thank you very much. Questions? Do we have public comments on that? No. Okay, we're ready to vote.
Aye.
Commissioner Daddle,
Aye.
Commissioner Ullman,
Aye.
Commissioner Kim,
Aye.
Commissioner Serena,
Aye.
Commissioner White,
Aye.
Chair Mvondo,
Aye.
Commissioner Austin, Commissioner Alvarez,
Aye.
Commissioner Bennett,
Aye.
Commissioner
Aye.
Britton.
Thank you, everyone. This concludes our time on agenda item number 6. We're moving on to agenda item 7. And I want to thank you all for keeping us on time and on track. So item 7 is an update on equity framework for a climate action and adaptation plan implementation and establishing an ad hoc subcommittee to finalize that framework. Please refer to attachments D, E, and Yuri. You have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. It's great to talk to you guys again. So I'd love to provide an overview on some of the work that Natalie, Andrea, and I have been working on. We believe that this is a very important initiative. And what we've been working on is the equity framework to guide the implementation of Yolo County Climate Action and Adaptation Plan, also known as our lovely CAP. Let me catch my breath real quick. So this is the first time that we're introducing this to the commission, but I want to emphasize again that this is a collaborative effort between Andrea, Natalie, and I, and we've been working closely on this since December. We've been putting in a little bit more on it this last month, but as Yolo County moves forward towards implementation of our CAP, there's a need to ensure that sustainability initiatives are designed and implemented equitably. So with the development of an equity framework, this will help serve as a guide to ensure county programs and policies are effectively addressing disparities and promote fair outcomes for all residents, particularly the historically marginalized communities. This framework will also help guide our decision-making process, ensuring equity is involved at every stage of our CAP implementation. Additionally, it will help us align our efforts with community-based organizations, also known as our CBOs, and external partners, ensuring everyone's coordinated approach to equity within climate action. We've conducted, Andrea, Natalie, and I, we've conducted an extensive review of equity frameworks from leading organizations and jurisdictions, including the Government Alliance on Race and Equity, also known as GARE, the San Francisco Racial and Social Equity Assessment Tool, and the San Francisco Equity Framework. After careful consideration, we recommend on moving forward with the GARE racial equity tool because it provides a comprehensive structure that aligns with county's goals for promoting racial and social equity within sustainability initiatives. For one, it is widely recognized and used by other jurisdictions, ensuring that we align with other national best practices. And also, but not lastly, it offers a clear step-by-step approach to embedding equity in policies, programs, and funding as well. So with this, our goal is to develop a concise equity framework tailored to Yolo County's specific needs. So we'll be building upon the GARE model. Objectives of our equity framework will include guiding the design and implementation of sustainability programs, ensuring that they equitably address community needs, as well as align external partnerships with county's equity priorities, and enhancing collaboration with our CBOs and other stakeholders. And lastly, assess the impacts of policies and investments to ensure that resources are both distributed fairly and effectively. I wanted to jump into our proposed structure and next steps. To effectively develop and implement this framework, we are recommending that we establish an ad hoc subcommittee, This subcommittee will consist of up to 3 members, and they will help us review and provide feedback on materials to ensure the framework is customized for Yolo County, as well as meet up to 3 times to advise on the structure, implementation, and the integration of the tool across CAP initiatives and partnerships, and guide the integration of the equity framework into CAP decision-making processes, ensuring consistency and accountability. So I want to provide some of the staff next steps within this equity framework. We will be developing a clear and concise summary of what exactly the GARE framework is, with instructions on how county staff as well as external partners such as other departments can apply the tool to align their CAP equity goals just with our team, as well as engage with the ad hoc subcommittee to refine the structure and ensure effective integration into decision-making process. And third, present the equity tool and framework at the next commission meeting for further discussion and feedback. And last but not least, finalize the tool for implementation with ongoing refinements based on the subcommittee as well as the commission. So with this, by adopting the GARE framework, we want to create a more inclusive and just sustainable initiative that resonates with and benefits all community members. Well, that has a potential to benefit all community members, as well as strengthen our partnerships with other CBOs and stakeholders, ensuring that our equity goals are all aligned with community needs. And we want to build transparency and trust by using a consistent and comprehensive approach for decision-making and for our CAP implementation. So with this, I want to acknowledge the hard work that both Andrea and Natalie have been putting into this, and their commitment and insights have been very valuable in shaping this effort. We are confident that this equity framework will help Yolo County lead by example within equitable climate action. So I look forward to the Commission's continued support and feedback as we move forward. And don't know if I should open it up for voting yet, but I'll leave that up to you, NJ.
I'll have just a quick question before taking more questions, comments. So first, thank you for this excellent presentation. Also, I'm thanking, of course, Andrea, and sorry, I need my glasses because I go by Natalie. You're Natalie as well, my homonym. I wasn't sure if it was Natalie, I couldn't remember. Yeah, but I want to thank you both for the work that you've done on it. And again, Yuri, for making sure you're always acknowledging them, not just in the beginning, but throughout the presentation. So that was really cool. My question though is, so when it comes to that ad hoc subcommittee, could you again clarify for me who the members are going to be? And the reason I'm asking is because given that this is a framework that will be that is meant to be used also for all county operations as much as possible, from what I read in the report. So what's the what else can you tell me about or tell us about the subcommittee? Kristen, I see that you're reacting.
All county so all sustainability division. Okay. So it's limited to our actions. I think that, this is a model that works really well. Maybe it will have a snowball effect elsewhere, but for the purposes of this discussion and this subcommittee, it's focused on implementation of the CAP and our sustainability division objectives.
Thank you for reframing. So this answers my question in that some members of this commission will make the ad hoc committee. And because we're always ambitious and extremely generous, it is our hope that, this framework will be adopted by other departments and groups. I'm just saying. Okay, so you don't need to answer that. Any reactions, questions before we vote, take public comments and vote? Commissioner Alvarez.
Yes.
And then
very
Commissioner
quickly,
Reed.
the toolkits look really well. Help me understand how these toolkits would be used. For instance, I can think of the Climate Action Fund. Would they run the applications through the toolkit and kind of score them based on that?
So for example, City of Portland has adopted this to be established to be reviewed with every financial decision that they make. So they directly use the GARE model for their financial decisions. We're trying to implement this for just not only financial decisions, but as well as program implementation and how we carry out our programs. But funding is definitely a part of that.
And I will say that, you know, assuming that we move forward with a GARE framework tailored obviously by the subcommittee, we are putting a note in the application for the Climate Action Fund that all applicants should review and speak to the GARE equity framework in their applications. I think that we want to put it upfront, and I think that if we adopt a version of this that builds on the GARE framework and is tailored to our work, we would like to use it in all of our planning discussions.
Yes, thank you, Kristen. Commissioner Bennett. Oh, you
I
wanted
just
the floor.
wanted to say, I think it's a really excellent tool, and I don't know what else you had to compare it to, but it was a really good choice. And I really endorse what you said, Kristen, that you can use it. So much of it was so good for just doing implementation. So being able to combine the two, the equity and the implementation, looks great.
Thank you, Micah. Commissioner Reed.
Thank you again, Yuri. It looks very ambitious to me, the requirements of it. And so, I mean, that concerns me because there's a lot of data gathering and evaluation that go on within this framework. And I'm interested in your vision as to whether you're going to sort of scope it in a way that is capable of being implemented by our staff that are managing. I mean, this applies to every project and every measure that we undertake. So I'm just trying to fit that together with the requirements in terms of how you evaluate compliance with the toolkit that we develop.
Hopefully this answers. If it doesn't, please redirect the question again. But just kind of want to bring you guys into what we've been slowly mapping out. From what we've gathered from the last time we met in person, we want to have this structured in a way where we're going to have our summary for the GARE, a good introduction, followed by the step-by-steps, not only just from the GARE that they have, but we're going to adapt that to actually incorporate equity goals mentioned within our CAP. So we're reviewing that as well, and the strategies too. And we're also, alongside with our instructions, we want to draft another set of instructions for external partners to use. And that would be like their set of instructions. The first instructions would be more for staff. And then I'll pass it over to Kristen.
Yeah, and I think that sounds like a great question for the ad hoc subcommittee. You know, I think that's what our hope is that this subcommittee can work with us and use that GARE framework as the base and think about what does a version of this, a summarized version, look like that's really tailored to the CAP, because everything in that framework is massive. But when we think about the CAP itself, I think we can still have all of these summaries and use it as that planning tool, and then have a version of it that's really tailored to the CAP. So that is what we are hoping somebody or three of you on the subcommittee are willing to dive into with us.
So one of the step back, go back up to 30,000 feet. Engagement a lot of times has been a barrier to engagement, has been overcomplicating the process to the extent that reporting and, becomes a burden. And so sort of achieving that balance between what you're doing and how you're doing it and the reporting requirements and the rules that you have to follow, sort of achieving that balance between the pure bureaucratic over-bureaucratization and simplification that facilitates participation is going to be a challenge. But you're aware of that, and so that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dutton.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to ask you, do you know of any examples where this GARE approach has been used for sustainability type work?
Not directly. No, not like, I haven't seen if like any sustainability division has like implemented themselves, but it's more like citywide adoption.
Like you mentioned Portland, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So as a reminder, the timeline on that is at the next meeting. So the subcommittee is required for 3 meetings. In 2 months, you will present an equity tool and framework, right, for the commission to discuss and provide feedback on. Any questions on that? No? Okay, I think we're good to go. We don't need to vote on anything as far as I know. Oh, yes, establish an ad hoc subcommittee.
We need to establish a subcommittee and identify who the 3 representatives will be.
Here we go. So, do you want to like use a hat, put names in a hat? Just kidding.
What's the question?
From the, yeah, from the
So-
commission.
I think we're gonna do 2 things, right? So I think before we put anything to a vote, I think it's good to verbalize whether or not we have a consensus for that ad hoc subcommittee to be formed. If there is a consensus, then I'm going to ask for volunteers. And if we have volunteers, then I will ask us to vote 2 votes in one, which is voting for the establishment with naming the people who volunteers. Does that sound like a plan? And it is 6:25, not to pressure you to speak now. So first, consensus, mostly, yes, okay. And then who would like to grace us with the expertise, knowledge, wisdom, presence in moving this project forward? Don't make me choose.
I can volunteer.
Commissioner Serena, thank you. I have this face because you're already doing so much, and I'm gonna start calling you Wonder Woman very soon. Okay, thank you. How many members do you mean like 2 or 3 for the ad hoc? 3. So we need 2 more people, and I'm not looking anywhere in particular.
I'll go.
I don't have the expertise, but I'm willing to volunteer.
Thank you so much, Bella. I appreciate it. And I heard Suzanne, but before I turn to her, anyone else? No? Okay, so we have 3 names. We have Commissioner Alvarez, we have Commissioner Serena, and we have Commissioner Reed. So now I need a motion for the establishment of the ad hoc subcommittee on the equity framework for the CAP. And I will need a motion to be specific about that subcommittee being composed of Commissioner Alvarez, Commissioner Serena, and Commissioner Reed. Who would like to make a motion?
I move that we approve the GARE framework as a foundation for the development of the CAP equity toolkit.
And the ad hoc committee with the 3 members.
Oh, you want me to add that?
Yes, please.
And that we approve the 3 commissioners who have willingly volunteered.
Working committee, Suzanne, working committee.
On an ad hoc committee, be approved.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Commissioner Britton is second. Okay, question. Do we have any public comments on that before we vote?
No public comments at this time.
Any last words from commissioners? We're ready to vote.
Commissioner Reed.
Aye.
Oh. Commissioner Ullman. Commissioner Kim.
I
Commissioner Serena.
Aye.
Commissioner White.
Aye.
Chair Mbondo.
Aye.
Commissioner Austin. Commissioner Alvarez.
Aye.
Commissioner Bennett.
Aye.
Commissioner Britton.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, everyone. Well done, well done. Thank you very much, Yuri. So now we are toward the end of our meeting. So please look at agenda item number 9. So I'm asking my fellow commissioners, is there anything you'd like to share with the public and the commission? Do you have any comments on future agenda items? Do you have any reports you'd like to share? Any news? So we're going to start with Commissioner Reed.
I would like to announce that West Sacramento has published its draft climate action plan. And I'm very happy to say that it's excellent. I sit on the Environment and Utilities Commission for the City of West Sacramento. And we are the ones that will oversee its implementation. So, so I'm looking forward to a cooperative and collaborative relationship between the city and the county as we move forward. So you may find the draft. It hasn't been approved by our city council yet, but this is the comment period, and you will find the draft on the city website.
Thank you, Commissioner Reed. On that note, I would like to ask staff, please, to, in the next newsletter, to include the news about that and also the link. I had a chance to actually read the CAP, the YCCAC CAP. It is really, really well done. So I will encourage you to take a look as well. Any additional news? No one? Okay. I don't think we usually take public comments on that one, so no. This concludes our time on agenda item number 9. Yes, Commissioner Alvarez,
just
sorry.
One comment
Yes.
about the maybe events to be included, and something about for the commission as well, the climate bond. So I would like to have something about the climate bond, because that's particularly in these times where the federal funding seems to gonna be moving away.
Yeah.
The climate bond could be a really place where a lot of the action items in the CAP can be funded through.
We are as staff trying to track it as much as possible. But that being said, I do not feel qualified to give an update to the commission on that. You know, I think we have been attending a lot of workshops on this. And so we'll take this and think about what the best way, whether it be a series of resources, a summary, maybe of some of the workshops that staff have attended. And we are hoping that whatever grant writer we can bring on board can help navigate this for us. We've also included a line item for county's intergovernmental advocacy policy to advocate around Prop 4 funding.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Pelayo. Just a quick mention for me, just for your personal interest. So there were a group of organizations in Davis that includes School Davis and the Davis Community Action Network and Yolo Interfaith Alliance, Solar Community, Housing Association, and many more. During all of 2024 and part of 2023, they organized a series of what they called Community Voices workshops. So they held, I lost track of how many events, but it were many. And they were mindful of being as inclusive as possible of our senior community, healthy aging community, and so on. I'm mentioning that because they will be publishing a report on the results of all of those events, survey results, workshops results, and so on. City of Davis has a city council meeting tomorrow. They will be giving a presentation. So I think after tomorrow, that report should be available online on the City of Davis website, but also on those organizations' websites. So mentioning that because this might be of interest to several of you, and also because this, the result and that work does impact the basically climate action plan in Yolo County, being that Davis is part of Yolo County. So anything else that anyone wants to add? Commissioner Kim?
Yeah, there's an event I just realized. This Thursday is the CAF's Sacramento Farmer Regional Gathering to wrap up the Small Farm Conference. 2:30 at the Center for Land-Based Learning Riverfront in West Sac. And then they're going to have a social mixer at the West Sac Community Center from 5 to 8 this Thursday.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Kim. Yep. So I think this concludes our time on agenda item 9. Please let's, just allow me to reference agenda item 10, the long range calendar, refer to attachment I.
No comments.
Okay. we're good. So it is 6:33. I am happy to pronounce this, declare this meeting adjourned. I thank you all again for your time, dedication for this first meeting of the year.